Senator Sanders, your closing remarks.
Well, this has been a wonderful debate, but time being limited, some of the most important issues facing our country have not been asked. And that is it acceptable that in America, the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%? Is it acceptable that while the average American works longer hours for low wages, 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%? Is it acceptable that Wall Street and billionaires are spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to buy elections? Is that democracy or is that oligarchy? Which is why I believe we've got to overturn Citizens United and move to public funding of elections. Is it right that in the greatest, wealthiest country in the history of the world, so many of our young people can't even afford to go to college or leave school deeply in debt? In the wealthiest country in the history of the world, if we stand up, fight back, we can do a lot better. That's why I'm running for president.
Secretary, Senator, we want to thank both of you for being here, for joining us tonight. And of course, we want to thank also the wonderful crowd that was here today.
Yeah, that was last night. I could show that over and over and over again, folks. That was Bernie Sanders in Miami getting a standing ovation. And I want to give a standing ovation to Univision, even though apparently somebody said they were supporting Hillary. But the announcers there did a great job with that debate. It's the first debate I've seen where they actually asked both candidates decent questions and they requested real answers. They demanded yes or no answers from Hillary. And Bernie Sanders, standing ovation, because what he stands for is what the people want. So how are you, everybody? We've got the Orlando Sentinel bringing us a feed today. We're just waiting for that to arrive. I'll show you that page. Here they are with the shiny graphic. And really want to thank the Orlando Sentinel for bringing us this. We dropped a URL in the lower third, folks. That's, if you look in the description, the original link to this is, we're not trying to compete with anybody. The goal here is to bring Bernie Sanders' message to as many people as possible. It should be available to everybody anywhere. And there should be no rights usage or access usage or anything with regard to political speech, because political speech is the most protected speech, according to the First Amendment. Or at least it was, until the Fairness Doctrine was repealed by Reagan, and then the 1996 Telecommunications Act was created by the Clinton administration. And then we lost control of our content. And so we're fighting to take it back. We're fighting to take back our government with Bernie Sanders. We're fighting to take back our political speech. We're fighting to take back our election process, which has become a disaster, as we've seen in numerous places across the country, in caucuses and primaries, where voter fraud is rampant. We're hearing so many cases where there's not enough ballots, or people are waiting in line forever, or so we're waking up. America is waking up to the political revolution, and we're going to hear Bernie Sanders talk about it real soon. We've got more than 100 people joining us right now. Thank you for being here. Right after this, let's see, who many we've got with us? We've got, somebody just said something about Univision. Oh, we're already, fuck Univision already? They called the debate for Hillary? Are you kidding me? Who in their right mind had the balls? Univision called the debate for Hillary? You know, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how you call that debate for Hillary Clinton. Bernie crushed her. It was so obvious Bernie destroyed her. You got a standing ovation, folks. You don't give the win to the person who didn't get the standing ovation. You don't, whatever. Yeah, fuck Univision. I don't get that. Rosie, how you doing? Leslie D, Dutch for Bernie, Melissa, Shingawire, Ski Vermont. How you doing, everybody? Nice to have you here. Brom, saw you in there. His graphic keeps going. We're just waiting for it to start. I'm expecting that he'll do some kind of an intro thing, but and you know, we're going to have our conversation here, folks. So let's see what we got going on. I know the lower third's already piling up. I'll run that in a minute as soon as I see enough backed up that we can go. In the news, that was Bernie Sanders right there. But we've got John Fetterman coming up right after this, folks. I'm guessing this is going to be an hour or so. Bernie generally speaks for that long. We got some intro speakers depending on when this starts. So that'll be one. And at 3 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Eastern, so 3 p.m. Pacific, although nobody seems to care about Pacific time these days. Eastern time, this is according to Janine, everybody. According to Janine, who we haven't seen in a while, she's out there busting ass in the East Coast for Bernie Sanders right now, campaign, boots on the ground effort. But East Coast time, 6 p.m. Eastern, John Fetterman will be with us on We the People. And you should join us for that because John Fetterman is a badass. He's a Bernie-crat, and he will be talking with Angela Valdez and John Spalding on We the People. And since we don't have Bernie Sanders up yet on... oh, wait. I just want to show you guys. He's kicked into the event. Here we are right now. Doesn't look like anybody's come up yet, but we can see that the event is live. I'm gonna kick in the audio just so we can see what or hear what we've got going on. So he's just right now. It's just tapped direct into the main soundboard for the whoever's running this event proper, and I'll keep an eye on that, and we'll go to that as soon as it starts. It's fantastic of them to deliver that stream for us. Thank you so much, Orlando Sentinel, and folks, go there. I put links to the Orlando Sentinel pages, the original link to this feed. Show them some love. Do what we do on the internet. Tell them thank you very much for helping us promote the freedom of speech, in particular political speech, which we shouldn't have to fight for the freedom of in the first place. So let's listen to what John Fetterman has to say. Oh, wait. It's they just cut away. So he's cutting away. Right? They just showed Secret Service walk on by. You know, I thought maybe Bernie was coming up, but they'll have an introduction. Here's John Fetterman, folks. Campaign ad endorsing Bernie Sanders. Fetterman for Senate.
We have an epidemic of inequality in this country. Something has to be done. The interests of corporations, the interests of the establishment, the interests of big money are not the interests of working families all across the Commonwealth or across this country. And that's why I am proud to endorse Bernie Sanders today. And Bernie Sanders and I agree on a lot of other issues too that are critical to this country's future, whether it's immigration, whether it's marijuana legalization, whether it's universal pre-K or affordability for college education. We stand together as the most progressive candidates in our respective races. And it's my pleasure and privilege to stand with Bernie and to have Bernie's back.
Nice. Thank you, John Fetterman. So John Fetterman will be with us on We the People, coming about 3 p.m. Pacific. That's 6 p.m. Eastern. Bernie Sanders has another event going on later tonight, and we'll probably try to cover that one if we can find a feed. And it'll be after that. And let's go back, make sure we haven't started the event yet. Gonna keep an eye on it here. Nope. All right. Let's move into some news, some of the stuff that I didn't get to cover before, and we have more than 200 people with us right now. Thank you for being here, folks. You honor me with your presence. Thank you for being here. Glad we're having a great conversation. Speaking of conversation, let's see what we have in the lower third. Let's see what we can run. What you guys have to say. It is a good afternoon. The sun's out here in Portland, Oregon. What's the weather like in your neck of the woods? It's sunny. It's definitely spring. Flowers are popping up everywhere. Did you know, folks? Did you know that most of the northern hemisphere did not have a summer, or I mean a winter? We have reached 2 degrees Celsius above norm. We reached that for a sustained amount of time. That was a marker that the governments around the world, scientists around the world said we can't reach that point. We're going to work, do everything we can, push environmental law as much as we can to make sure we don't reach that point. Well, we reached that point. And we've seen what the devastation has done. And it's not going to get any better, folks. It's going to continue to get worse. So we really need to put somebody in office like Bernie Sanders who actually understands that our climate is an issue now. We have to address it now. We were supposed to address it 40 years ago. But Hillary Clinton's friends, 40 years ago, I'm not sure what she was doing, but I know that ExxonMobil and the administration at the time, so that'd be the Reagan administration when they came in, basically said, let's not tell the world that we already know that what we're doing is catastrophic. It's just going to destroy the earth. We don't need to tell them that. Yeah. So just remember, folks, your planet was doomed 40 years ago. We could have saved it 40 years ago, started saving it 40 years ago. We could have gone onto a path of renewables 40 years ago. But the Reagan administration, ExxonMobil, and the media, mass media, every single media corporation decided to just not say a word. They went in collusion with the government, right? So let's do some fact checking. Let's do some fact checking here. We're looking at the fact checking information from the debate last night. It was an awesome debate. It was an awesome debate. The New York Times even had to say, here's the Times headline. Even the Times had to all right, who won the debate? Bernie Sanders gets the edge. They don't say win. That's as close as they could get. Bernie Sanders gets the edge. So Univision saying Hillary won the debate. I'm sorry. Not like we think any of you have any credibility, but yeah, I'm sorry. That's just not how it works. That's not how it works. All right, look, he must have just changed his light filter. Very interesting. The sun came back out and wherever they were over there. I don't know what was going on before it was so dark, but yeah, there we go. That's much nicer. There's the bright sun. We're looking at the event there. Anderson Cooper said they were chanting Bernie and Hillary? What? Where? When was this happening? I just saw that comment. Where? What the hell are you talking about? At the debate last night? You know what somebody else said? Somebody else said this earlier. I thought this was interesting, that Anderson Cooper would be the first to jump the fence, first to rise and be for Bernie Sanders. Hasn't Van Jones done that already? Hasn't he said, I feel the burn? I don't know. I thought, are there any establishment media personnel other than the ones that have been fired, right? Ed Schultz, that have said, I'm for the burn. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, politician. So are there any? I mean, find out. We need more Bernie-crats running for offices. We absolutely do, folks. You want to run for office in your city or state? Matter of fact, Dan Holbeck, one of our artists, he's going to run for office next year. We were talking about it, and we're going to help him out. We're going to get a crowd fund going. We're going to put this guy in office so that he can do some good where he's at. He just decided. You can do that too. Let us know. We'll build a team together, and we'll put you in office. That's all we have to do, folks, is replace the corrupt politicians with good people like you and me. We are supposed to be running our government, right? Let's do it. Let's do that. Well, of course, most governments in the world lie to people, but that's what's changed. Dutch for Bernie, that's what's changed, okay? We have technology today that makes it virtually impossible for the government to lie. And now we need to change. We need to reform how our government functions. We need to instill within it these safeguards that allow us to make sure our government isn't lying. We need a more transparent, more open government. And I think we're going to create that because we have a transparent, open web. And we need to make sure that stays open too. So, yeah, I think we're on the path. We're on the path to a much more enjoyable planet if we stay the course and we put Bernie Sanders in office along with Bernie-crats who can actually do the job and do what we say. Remember, Bernie Sanders' bottom line. You know what? You don't do what we say at this point, we're going to show you the door. We will elect somebody else. It's all we have to do. It's how a democracy is supposed to work. Chemtrails. Just saw somebody pass a note about chemtrails. I would love to learn more about that. I haven't had time. I want somebody in BTV staff or somebody who wants to come on who really knows the issue to get trained in how to be a person here and to give us a special report or find me a special report that we can run on that. I need to learn about that. I don't know. I'm not convinced one way or the other. I want to understand chemtrails, okay? Something I need knowledge on. I don't want it now, but let's plan that in the future there. Want to do that, definitely. I'm looking at some news that I didn't cover earlier as we wait for this event to start. And right now we're just looking at the graphic, folks. Nothing's happening. Nothing's cool. One moment. Here, you know what we have coming up? Let's talk about this again. We were just talking about it earlier. We'll talk about it again. March 12th, Northern Marianas, 6 delegates. Don't know anything about it. Somebody can tell me about it. Comments, that'd be great. He did have so many good lines last night. He really did. I'm waiting for somebody to put together a compilation. I'm waiting for Magnum DB to do a Feel the Burn. I don't know what we'd be on, 11, 12, 13 at this point. If anybody has a link to that, maybe he's working on it right now, but that should incorporate so many pieces of last night. I'm sure it's not done. I mean, that'd be really fast, but we need something like that. That'd be fantastic. But we're coming up on March 15th. March 15th is Super Tuesday 2. And if you look at Nate Silver's 538's website, these links you can all find mostly on politicalrevolution.tv. That's our other channel. This is all part of the Global Engagement Network, which I'll explain again someday. But I'm just reading that comment there. But you think Rachel Maddow is secretly going to vote for Bernie? Maybe. You go to politicalrevolution.tv and look at any of the newsrooms, and in the newsroom comments, there's in the description, there is a link to 538, Nate Silver's tracker here for the delegate targets. And what we're looking at here is March 15th, Florida, Illinois, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio. These are big delegate states. Florida being huge. Florida is huge. And they're so underestimating the Bernie presence. There was 8,000 people in Gainesville, Florida today. My understanding, I was looking at some chatter through social, there's people waiting in lines for the Kissimmee event now. And I don't know where he's at in the evening, but I'm sure it's going to be the same. This is a movement of the people. Tens of thousands of people have risen, stood in lines, waited in the cold, spent their last dollar to see this man become president. You will not stop us. The establishment will not stop us. We will take back our country. We're doing it right now. We're doing the hardest part right now. Putting a president in office that will actually do what we tell them to do. Obama did not do what we told him to do. Even when we were telling him in social. Think about that, folks. As Obama carried on with his presidency, we, the people in social, kept saying, do. And it wasn't happening. Why wasn't it happening? Because Obama is part of the establishment, folks. He's part of the establishment like everybody else. Bernie Sanders, he's a different kind of politician. Oh, look, we got footage. Looks like Bernie's arriving there. Yes, Democrats abroad voted 75% for Bernie, or 70% for Bernie. Woody is the Northern Marianas. I'm going to guess that's part of Democrats abroad, so that should mean a much greater margin of win. Maybe Bernie will get 4 out of the 6 delegates, or 5 out of the 6 delegates. I see his camera's auto-adjusting to the sun. I love it when it does that. Mine does that too. This one in here with the sun flying in and out. You realize this political revolution, folks, this political revolution is being broadcast on the web. The truth is here. The truth is with the Orlando Sentinel. The truth is with us. The truth is with all the web broadcasts that are being put out without punitive damages being assessed, without copyright being assessed. Looks like somebody's up there screaming. I think we're going to cut into it, see if it started here. All right. Although right as it started, it looks like they froze. There's audio. Sorry about the abruptness of that.
God bless you guys. God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
feeling the burn? Beautiful, beautiful day to be out here to join all of you to celebrate this movement that all of you are the heart and the energy behind. You're beautiful. Where I come from in Hawaii, we say aloha, but it's a word that means more than just hello and goodbye. It's a word that means when I come and I aloha you, it means I'm coming to you with an open heart. I come to you with respect, with love and with compassion, that we all stand equal together on one ground in this wonderful fight towards a brighter future. Aloha. I want to share with you something that's important to me personally and something that I know is important to all of you as we look forward to seeing how we can build this bright future together. No one understands more how important peace is than those who've actually been there and experienced that high cost of war firsthand. We have some veterans here, I know, in the crowd, brothers and sisters who've served in uniform. You understand because you've seen that high human cost of war that doesn't end when our troops come home. During my first deployment to Iraq, I served in a medical unit where every single day that high human cost stared me back in the face. It's something that sticks with me in my heart and that I continue to carry with me. Through my experiences, I have learned how important it is that we have a commander-in-chief who exercises good judgment, who has foresight, who has a military mindset to know and understand what the consequences of a military action is, to analyze that action and know what the results of that will be before that action is taken. It is the lack of that military mindset that we have seen in our failed ventures in the Middle East, whether you're talking about in Iraq, in Libya, or now in Syria today. I'm endorsing Senator Bernie Sanders and supporting him and helping him in his efforts to be our next commander-in-chief because he has that good judgment. He has that intelligence. He has that foresight. He will make those decisions about when and where our American military power should be used, and just as importantly, when and where it should not be used. Now, in this war that's being waged today, yet another one of these interventionist regime change wars in Syria, his opponent in this primary has made it clear that she will continue that war. She has supported that war. Senator Sanders has made it clear that he will no longer waste our precious resources and lives on these interventionist regime change wars. He will fight to protect the American people from those who threaten us, but he will focus those resources on investing in and rebuilding our nation right here at home. So that's the clear choice that's before us. Florida, you have already begun early voting. It ends on Saturday. You've got a big day coming up on March 15th. And every single one of us here has a responsibility, not only to exercise our own civic duty, but to go out and get others to do the same. Because there is so much at stake in this election. The choice before us is this. We can vote for Hillary Clinton and know through her positions and her record that we will get more of these interventionist regime change wars that have cost us so much. or we can vote for and support Bernie Sanders, end these counterproductive, costly interventionist wars, and invest here at home, because we cannot afford to do both. Now is the time. Now is the time that we stand together, that we make sure our voices are heard, as happened in Michigan the other day, and stand with Bernie Sanders to be our next president, my choice as our next commander-in-chief. Please give Bernie Sanders a resounding welcome here in Orlando. Fantastic turnout. Thank you so much. Let me thank Jeannie Robles and Jim Obermans, and let me thank Tulsi Gabbard. Not only, you know, Tulsi is a great congresswoman from the state of Hawaii. She is a veteran, and she is a champion in the fight to make sure we do not get involved in perpetual warfare in areas we should not be. This campaign is a different type of campaign. And the reason for that is we're doing something very radical. We are telling the American people the truth. And here is some truth. No president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can deal with the major crises facing our country alone. The only way we transform this country is when we do it together. When billions of Americans stand up, get involved in the political process, and demand a government which represents all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors. Now, this campaign is different because we listen to the people, not billionaire campaign contributors. And this is what we have heard from people in Florida and all over this country. First, we have heard that people cannot make it on $8, $9, $10 an hour. Not at the Disney World, not anyplace else. Billionaire corporations should not be paying working people starvation wages. People who work 40 hours a week in this country should not be sleeping out in their cars. And that is why together we're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
citizens are telling me is they cannot make it on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? Nobody can make it on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. Now, my Republican colleagues, most of them, say we should cut Social Security. Well, I got news for them. Not only are we not going to cut Social Security, we're going to raise Social Security benefits. This campaign is listening to the veterans community. And what the veterans are saying is they want quality health care and they want their benefits in a timely manner, and that's what we're going to provide to them. This campaign is listening to young people. And what young people are saying is, how does it happen that when we graduate college or graduate school, we are $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 in debt? This country needs a well-educated
I'm sorry, folks. This is audio is coming from the Orlando Sentinel, and there's nothing I can really do about it. Bernie Sanders, is there. If you can find a better link, I suggest you go to it. I see other people talking about a better link in the comment section. I can't use anything but a local link, or if somebody's there directly. So we'll stay here unless I get something better. Sorry about that, folks.
We should be talking about making public colleges and universities tuition free. And what we have also got to talk about is making sure that we lower student debt for billions of Americans who have been stimulated.
And now it's just kind of disappeared completely.
Santa Claus giving away things, how are you going to pay for that? And I will tell you how we're going to pay for it. What we are going to do is put a tax on Wall Street speculation. Now, all of you remember, the people in Florida remember this very clearly, that Wall Street greed and illegal behavior drove this country into the worst economic decline since the 1930s. And after the crooks on Wall Street destroyed the economy, they went running to Congress and they said, bail us out. Well, now I think it is time for Wall Street to help the middle class. Campaign is talking and listening to women. And what women are saying is, why does it happen that they go to work in an office or company and they're making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men? And the answer is old-fashioned sexism, which we are going to change. And I know that every man here today will stand with the women in the fight for their equity. And this campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And what they are saying is, how does it happen in the richest country in the history of the world that we have more people in jail than any other country? And brothers and sisters, this is a disgrace that together we are going to end. Going to see our jails packed with young people, African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans. We are going to reform a very, very broken criminal justice system. Now, I'm a former mayor, and I've worked with policemen throughout my career, and the vast majority of policemen and policewomen are hardworking, honest, and they're doing a very, very difficult job. But like any other public official, when a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We are going to demilitarize local police departments. Police departments are designed to serve the people, not look like oppressor forces. And we are going to make police departments look like the diversity of the communities they serve. We understand, in my state, I know in Florida, that we have a very serious problem with drug addiction and alcohol abuse. But what we also understand is that substance abuse is a health issue, not a criminal issue. We need a revolution in mental health treatment in this country. When people need help, they should be able to get help when they need it. We have got to take a very hard look at the so-called war on drugs. Right now, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, heroin is listed at the same level as marijuana. That's wrong. And I have introduced legislation to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Now we can argue, and people do, the scientists do, the pluses and minuses of marijuana, but everybody here knows marijuana is not heroin. And the racial aspect of that situation is that it turns out blacks and whites use marijuana at roughly the same levels, but blacks are 4 times more likely to be arrested than whites. Our campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. We are listening to our brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico. And what our Latino brothers and sisters are telling us is they are tired of living in the shadows. They are tired of living in fear. They are working hard, often exploited. They want comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. And our brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico are tired of Wall Street vulture institutions charging their government outrageously high interest rates and forcing the government there to close down schools and health facilities. And we're going to tell the Wall Street vultures who own bonds in Puerto Rico, no, they are not going to destroy that beautiful island. This campaign is listening to a people who never get listened to, and that is our Native American brothers and sisters. Everybody here knows how much we owe the Native American community. How much their culture and their way of life have given to all of us. And yet for hundreds of years, treaties have been broken, they have been lied to. Together, we are going to change that and treat Native Americans with the respect and dignity they deserve. This campaign listens to scientists. And I am a member of the Environmental Committee of the United States Senate. And I have talked to scientists all over the world. And virtually unanimously, what scientists are telling us is climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity. And sadly and tragically, climate change is already doing devastating harm in this country and around the world. And this is what the scientists tell us, is that if we do not get our act together in a very short period of time, the bad situation of today will only become worse in years to come. And in fact, by the end of this century, this planet could be 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it is today. And what that means, let's be clear about what that means. What that means is more drought, more floods, and you're already seeing that in Miami Beach, more extreme weather disturbances, and you're seeing some of that here, more acidification and destruction of the oceans, more rising sea levels, more international conflict as people fight for limited natural resources. That is the future if we don't have the guts to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and to tell them that their short-term profits are not more important than the planet we intend to leave to our children and grandchildren. talk about water and when we talk about our environment, we have got to put an end to fracking. And we've got to put an end to offshore drilling of oil. Look, this is Florida. And I'm from Vermont. We don't get this in the middle of the winter. This state can be producing enormous amounts of energy from solar. The future of energy in America, if we are going to save this planet, and if we're going to work with other countries around the world, is to do everything we can to move to energy efficiency, to solar, to wind, to geothermal, to sustainable energy. Now, people say, how are you going to pay for these things? Well, I will tell you how we're going to pay for these things. In the last 30 years, media doesn't talk about it a whole lot, but in the last 30 years, there has been a massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to the top 0.1%. Middle class has shrunk. The percentage of wealth owned by the top 0.1% has doubled. What this campaign is about is telling the billionaire class that they no longer will be able to get it all. That this country belongs to all of us and not just a handful of billionaires. And what this campaign is about is understanding that today we have a corrupt campaign finance system. That I'm an old-fashioned guy. Democracy to me is one person, one vote, not billionaires buying elections. And one of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself is I do not have a super PAC. I do not want a super PAC. Secretary Clinton has raised $15 million from Wall Street, millions from the drug companies, millions from the fossil fuel industry. We have on the other hand raised money through 5 million individual campaign contributions. And you know what our average contribution is? $27. We are not indebted to Wall Street, the drug companies, or the oil companies, or the coal companies. To paraphrase Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, this is a campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people. Together, we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court. This campaign is about thinking big, not small. It is about understanding that if we have the courage to stand together and not allow the Trumps of the world to divide us up, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. What demagoguery is always about, and what it's about today, and what has always been about, is scapegoating minorities. So we stand here today rejecting the Trumps of the world who want us to hate Mexicans, who want us to hate Muslims. We are going to stand together and take on the big money interests who have done so much harm to this country. What this campaign is about is exposing Republican family values. When they talk about family values, I want everybody here to know exactly what they are talking about. What they are saying is no woman here today or in Florida or in the United States should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they are saying is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to be married. I disagree. When I talk about family values, what I talk about is ending the international embarrassment of the United States being the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave. It is wrong. It is horrific that today a woman in Florida or a woman in Vermont is given birth to a beautiful baby, and yet in a week or 2 weeks, she's going to have to separate herself from that baby and go back to work because she needs the income to take care of her family. Together, we're going to join the rest of the industrialized world, guaranteed 3 months paid family and medical leave. Change, as all of you know who have studied history, change never takes place from the top on down. It's never some president or some important guy signing something. Change always takes place from the bottom on up. When workers 100, 150 years ago were being treated like animals, working 7 days a week with no rights, brave workers came together and said, we will have dignity and respect. We're going to form a union. We're going to engage in collective bargaining, and they struggled. Some of them went to jail, some of them were beaten, some of them were killed, fighting for workers' rights. That's how change takes place. Change takes place when over the last several hundred years, African Americans and their white allies said, in America, we are not going to tolerate racism, bigotry, and discrimination. And some of those fighters were beaten and jailed and lynched, but they continue to fight to make sure that America fulfills its promise of justice for all people. 100 years ago, from an historical perspective, not a very long period of time, 100 years ago, women in America did not have the right to vote. They could not get the education they wanted, the jobs they wanted. But women rose up, and with their male allies, they said, women in America will not be second-class citizens. And they struggled, and they went on hunger strikes, and some of them died in order to make sure that women in America were treated with the dignity and respect that all of our people deserve. If we were here, just here, 10 years ago, a very short time ago from an historical perspective, and somebody stood up and said, I think that in the year 2015, gay marriage will be made legal in all 50 states, the person next to him would have said, what are you smoking? Which raises a whole other issue. But because of the willingness of the gay community to stand up against incredible hatred and opposition, and the willingness of many straight people to stand with them, we have achieved huge change. Now, what is my point? My point is that change never comes easily. It only comes when people begin to see that the status quo is no longer acceptable. I want you to take a look at where we are as a nation today. Today in this country, as I mentioned, we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world, but nobody knows that because almost all of the new wealth and income is going to the top 1%. That's the status quo. The status quo is that in America today, we got folks in Florida and in Vermont, they're working not one job, but two jobs, maybe three jobs. Dad's working, mom's working, the kids are working, and yet 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%. That is the status quo. Status quo today is that 29 million Americans have no health insurance. Many of you are underinsured with large deductibles and large co-payments. That's the status quo. The status quo is that in this great country, embarrassingly, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. That's the status quo. Status quo is more people in jail than any other country on earth. That's the status quo. Status quo is I was in Flint, Michigan last week talking to people whose kids are being poisoned by a collapsing water system which has lead in it. Status quo is that in Vermont and all over this country, our roads and bridges and water systems and wastewater plants and our rail system falling apart. That's the status quo. Status quo is that the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That is the status quo that we are looking at today. And I say that status quo is not acceptable. And that we have got to change it. Now let me also tell you about the status quo, which is that the people who own this country do not want you to vote. They do not want you to participate in the political process. But here is the only antidote to what these guys are doing. They want a world in which corporate America, Wall Street, and large campaign donors can do exactly what they want because they have bought the United States Congress and bought the White House. Do you think any of these billionaires are staying up nights worrying that people here are working for $9 an hour? They could care less. You think they care that elderly people are struggling at $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security, they could care less. The only way we make change, and as I said a moment ago, that's the only way change has ever taken place, is when people stand up, fight back, and demand a government that represents all of us. The status quo is we have one of the lowest voter turnouts, one of the lowest voter turnout rates of any country on earth. I think together it's time we change that, created the highest voter turnout of any country on earth. Not only are we going to overturn the Citizens United, we are going to stand up to those cowardly Republican governors who are trying to suppress the vote. If cowardly Republican governors are afraid of a free and fair election, if the only way they can win is by making it impossible for people to vote, those cowards should leave politics and get another job. Our view, my view, is if you're 18 years of age in this country and a citizen, you have the right to vote. End of discussion. Now, I have been attacked and criticized for a whole lot of things, and one of the areas that I am criticized is that, well, Bernie is a nice guy, but he cannot win a general election, can't defeat Donald Trump. Well, let me just tell you something. Virtually every poll that has come out in the last month has us running way, way ahead of Donald Trump. And in fact, almost all of those polls have us doing a lot better against Trump than Secretary Clinton. It's not just polls. More importantly, the American people are not going to elect a president who insults Mexicans, a president who insults Muslims, a president who insults women, a president who insults veterans, a president who insults the African American community. I want all of you to remember that Donald Trump was one of the leaders of the so-called birther movement, a movement that tried to delegitimize the presidency of Barack Obama for one reason. You know, I always find it interesting. President Obama's father was born in Kenya. My father was born in Poland. I'm the son of an immigrant. But somehow, Trump and others always worried about President Obama's birth certificate. Nobody asked me about my birth certificate. Maybe it has something to do with the color of my skin versus Obama's skin. The American people are going to defeat Donald Trump. They're going to support Barack Obama. The American people are going to defeat Donald Trump because they know that community supporting each other will trump selfishness. They know that coming together, bringing our people together, trumps dividing us up. The American people, most importantly, understand that every major religion on earth, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, understands that love trumps hatred. Coming Tuesday, you have a very important primary here in Florida. Now, about a week ago, we were 20 or 30 points behind in Michigan. And what all of the pundits said and what all of the media said, Bernie Sanders and the political revolution can't win in Michigan. Guess what? We won in Michigan. And we won in Michigan because there was a record-breaking turnout of people who stood up and said, this government belongs to all of us, not the few. Now here in Florida, next Tuesday, I believe that if there is a large voter turnout, if you come out and your friends and family and neighbors come out, we are going to win here in Florida. Make certain that Florida becomes a leader in the fight for the political revolution. Please vote. Thank you all very much.
And that was Bernie Sanders live from Kissimmee, Florida. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right still, but it doesn't really matter. That was another badass rally speech. Thank you all for joining us. More than 400 people with us right now. Really appreciate you being here. What a great conversation you guys were having today. Fantastic conversation. Thank you to the Orlando Sentinel. I know we had sound issues at the beginning. All I can tell you is that you should have seen the conversation happening on the Orlando Sentinel's YouTube page. It was not very kind. They were also screaming about the audio. Guys, I can just tell you this. When you're in the field and you're trying to get things going, 1,000 things can go wrong. Things go wrong here all the time. And, everybody does their best to deliver. We're dealing with a shitty infrastructure because our government has refused to spend any money on it. And we should have better technology. We shouldn't even have to be doing stuff like this. This should be readily available, all this stuff. So I want to thank the Orlando Sentinel. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I know we had some crappy audio to begin with. There was wind. There was stuff going on. This is just the way it is when you're live. And join us in 2 hours. 2 hours, we're going to have John Fetterman. He's running for Senate, Pennsylvania. He's a Democrat. He's a Bernie-crat. And we're going to have him on We the People with Angela Valdez and John Spalding. And good to have you guys with us. It's a fantastic conversation. I'm looking at some of the comments here. I think I'm going to take a moment. I had to run back in. I was in the middle of making my wife some coffee. I get things scrolling here with this. I run out, make a portion of coffee, come back in here, check things, run out. I can only do that when Bernie's talking, of course, but it's about halfway done. Anyway, let's look at what you guys have had to say. I know there's some comments in here. I'm going to scroll back up. Fantastic conversation. Lots and lots of stuff. Feel better, just my blood pressure turned normal. Oh well, thank you, Lisa Hauserman. My name is John, and I'm glad you like me. I am the host, and nice to thank you. Appreciate that. I'm honored. Hillary was meeting with her staffers in the break. Yeah, so I want to find the official article that says that, or the official statement from the campaign that says that they are actually accusing Hillary Clinton of violating debate rules, and then I want to find out, does it matter? What are they going to do about it? What does it mean? Does the DNC actually do anything, or are they just going to say, who cares? It's our game. We control it. It's rigged. We really don't care what you say. They've ignored everything else we've said about the violations of the law. Why would they give a shit about this? What do we do? What do we do when we find it? We've already accused her of so many things. She's been accused of so many things. There's no recourse. This is when you know you're fighting a political revolution, folks, when you really have no real... What do we do? What do we do? How do we get her to stop? How do we get them to stop lying to us? That's really what we're looking for here, you know? Bernie's fireside chats would be YouTube videos. They absolutely would. They'd be this. My goal was to, originally, folks, I said, before this is over, we'll have Bernie on Bernie 2016 TV. That's not going to happen. I can promise you that it won't happen because of the way things are and how dangerous this is with the political revolution. We can't have him on this channel. Can't associate at all. But I learned that through I was naive at the beginning. But the goal would be that the fireside chats wouldn't just be with Bernie. They would be with all of the politicians using a platform similar to this, where they just join a hangout and they're talking to you. And we have a conversation like this. And somebody is producing it and controlling it. Looks like Scott Galindez is coming in, folks. Scott may have a word or two to say. I don't know where he is at this moment. We'll find out. Bring him in. But the idea, think about it, if all your politicians, we're working on something called the Democracy app, believe it or not, with a bunch of other groups, and somebody named, one of the politicians from Iowa, Tom Fegan, they were the instigators of this, and we've got the technology, we've got the frameworks built. The idea is that we can tap into all the government schedules, we can know where our politicians are supposed to be, what they're voting on, and they, through a platform like this, can have a conversation with us in real time and ask us, what do you think I should do? I've got Bill XYZ coming up. I want to know what you think. How should I vote on this? What are your concerns on this bill? What are your concerns on this issue? What's going on in the community? Let's get to know each other. That's what our politicians should be doing. We have the technology to make it happen. Our government hasn't instituted any of this technology, hasn't given a shit, because that would be informing the electorate. That would be letting us participate in the democracy. So we're going to make that happen. That is happening. We're building this right now. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. You guys are here. This doesn't work unless we have a conversation. This doesn't work unless we're all here together, right? This is what Bernie is saying. We can't fix the democracy unless we all work together. We can't save the planet unless we all work together. We can't have peace unless we all work together. It's really what it comes down to. Okay, anyone knows how many people in the Kissimmee rally? I do not. I saw a number of 5,000 flash by. I am not quoting you that at all. I have no idea. Okay, we should find out. Somebody should find out. Scott was coming in. I don't know what happened to Scott. Scott, if you can hear me, if you want to try again, please do. Let me check and see if he left me a note. He could have recorded some other footage. Yeah, public funding of elections. Yes. Yes, we need to have public funding of elections. Look, other countries do. Next time we have Nigel Harrison on, guys, remind me to ask Nigel, just to have Nigel tell his story about how it works in Australia. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, so a couple hours from now. Join us for that. That'll be really badass. Angela Valdez, John Spalding, and there was a video that was dropped in. Now I gotta find it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? It was put in here. It was a new here we go. So we're on this Makana kick. Please tell me if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. And this is Occupy with Aloha. 2 minutes. This was uploaded November 13th, 2011. We're gonna watch this. Why not? We're gonna go out with this, folks. Thank you for being here. What a great conversation we had with each other. Feel the burn, everybody. It's Makana. Occupy with Aloha.
So I just came from playing the World Leaders Dinner at APEC here in Honolulu for the Obamas and I guess 19 or 20 other world leaders. So I showed up and did my gig, and I started to look around, and I thought about the song I just wrote called We Are the Many. And it was an incredible experience to sing the words, those words, to that room of people. And I didn't belt it out. I started out very subtly and subliminally, and I was like, "Ye come here, gather around the stage. Time has come for us to voice our rage." Did he just say what I think he said? And then I realized that, wow, I didn't get in trouble. So I played it again, and I made like a different version of it. I ended up playing it for about 45 minutes. To be able to sing that there was an epic feeling. It felt right. My uncle always told me, play what's in your heart and play to the audience, you know, play what you feel is right for them. That's what I did. And I found it odd that I was afraid to do it at first. I found that disturbing. That's kind of why I did it. I didn't like the idea of being afraid to sing a song that I created. I've never in my life been afraid to sing anything. If that's what we've come to in the world, where we're afraid to say certain things in the company of certain people, I think that's a dangerous place to be. And so, for me to move out of that space, I had to sing the song. And that's what I did.
Huge